Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 56th episode of Let's Talk About Market. So, if you see the Nifty index, early in the morning when it started, it was down around 40-50 points, and now we have recovered. So, for the Nifty index, if you'll know, we have been talking about this that 25,700 will be an important support level. So, in during the day, it has broken that support level, but then it has gone up. So what does this indicate, and what is the outlook now for the market? I think that is the discussion that we'll do today. And there are many sectors which are looking, which have interesting setups. So that will also be the discussion point. So let me quickly get started, as there is a lot of ground to cover today. So please let me know once you all are able to see my screen properly. Okay. And also, if you're all able to hear me, please put it in the chat box so that we can get started. Okay. Thanks, Mayur, for the confirmation. So, when you look at the Nifty index, see, essentially what had happened was that the Nifty index had broken out from this resistance line. In fact, if you zoom out a bit, this was the other major resistance, this is Nifty 500. Okay. Yes. So effectively, see what had happened was that the Nifty index had broken the resistance level over here, and in fact, if you zoom out a bit, then this entire resistance level was broken on the upside, and after that, there was a good move seen on the upside. In the near term, we have seen some sort of consolidation happening, and because of this sideways activity, and since the momentum was lost, the Nifty index has given a bearish crossover, right? But we have spoken about this extensively in the past as well, that when the Nifty index is trending higher, okay, and it is trading above the averages, that time you can ignore the sell signals and rather, simply trail it through the averages. See, something of this sort happened over here as well, right? Because RMI is what? It is gauging momentum. So you can see that the momentum was extremely strong over here, right? Now, if you have a 14-day comparison, then the momentum over here would have been lost, and this resulted into a bearish crossover over here, correct? But what has happened later on? I mean, it respected the averages and it kept rising higher, right? So I am expecting a similar thing to happen over here. So while there is a bearish crossover, so of course, those things may pop in our mind that whether the correction can happen over here, maybe retest the trend line and only then rise higher. I mean, these are things which we will have to look at it on an ongoing basis and figure out, whether are we going to get into that deeper correction, or will we correct, or will we move from here only. So as of now on the hourly chart, actually, there is some sort of channel that is being formed. So in the morning, that channel was broken on the downside, but now the Nifty index is making an attempt to come back within this channel and rise higher. So I think for me, now, the thing that I would be looking out for is a bullish crossover in RMI and the prices breaking and crossing above the 20 and the 40-hour exponential moving average. Okay, if that is done, then I think the momentum will again pick up. If it says somewhere resist over here, then the possibility is that there will be this minor bounce and a pullback towards this averages. If you ask me honestly, I don't think that we might get a pullback and go back and test to the averages. Now there is a reason why I'm not thinking that. Okay, if you see any sector on the hourly chart, right? And this I'm talking about the hourly chart. See, you can see over here Nifty mid cap has been rising higher in a channel. Over here also 40 hour 40 hour was considered as a support. From there it took support, and now it is trying to rise higher. So I think the momentum in the mid cap will pick up once there is a bullish crossover, because we are anyway seeing the prices above the hourly averages. Similar thing happening in small cap. On Friday, it did close above that, but in the morning, it closed well. I mean, it opened well above the 40-hour exponential average, and it is rising higher, right? Nifty 500, that is not the case, because Nifty 500 is nothing but small cap, mid cap, and large cap all put together. And because large cap, we have seen this dip, and that is why we are seeing this in 500. But now, if you see many of the sectors, they look interesting. Now I'll now see. I mean, all of you might be aware that IT. I have been talking for quite some time now, and it is rising higher, but not at the pace that we would like. But nevertheless, it is rising higher. So see, over here also in IT, if you see, what is happening is that there is a channel that is being built, and now on the lower end, this was the gap area, right? So somewhere around this gap area, the Nifty IT index has tested, and now it is trying to rise higher. So I would imagine that Nifty IT is also now at a very, very important support level, and we should possibly see a turnaround from here. Okay. Yeah. So something this is something that people need to keep in mind as well, that if you see the weekly chart, it is somewhere resisting around the 20 week, and not and is unable to break above that. So this is the risk, frankly, in the near term. But what I am expecting is that when you look at the daily chart, it might look a lot more clear, which is that prices rising higher, going for a consolidation, again rising higher, again going for the consolidation. I mean, that is what I would tend to think. And as of now, you can see that both the daily averages are also around the same point. So the lower end of the gap area and the averages all at the same time. This makes me feel that Nifty IT is at a crucial juncture, especially from the short term perspective. And I think somewhere over here, if it manages to turn around, we should see a good bullish momentum over there. And of course, to all the people who have been attending this live session, I have explained many times why IT looks good. That is because there are a lot of short positions that are built in IT. And I think at some point of time, that short covering rally might get triggered, which can eventually push it higher. And given that the Nifty index is now looking up, I think all these things should start playing out. So some of it has played out, but so far we have not seen that a good sharp short covering rally, which normally triggers a good trending move. That is not visible, but nevertheless, it has been inching higher slowly. So that is one. Now the other thing is that if you see PSU index, right? We had talked about this. In fact, this is PSU bank. Sorry, this is BSC PSU index. But if you see the Nifty PSC index, the pattern is even more nice over there. So what has happened is that there was a breakout from this consolidation, and now this entire consolidation is happening above the averages. Okay, and now again it is trying to break out. So if you zoom out and if you see on the daily chart, what is happening is that up move, then there was this consolidation, now again it is picking up, and on the hourly chart also it has managed to form some sort of range. So I'm also very hopeful over here that it will turn around and it should rise higher. So when I was looking at the indices, and I'm wondering that most of the indices are actually taking support at the 40-hour average and rising higher. So I am not frankly seeing a breakdown in the indices. If you see reality, this is the case, right? Up move, consolidation, now again trying to rise higher. PSU bank has been trending higher at the 20-hour only. Okay, so there the momentum is very strong. MNC sideways it is, but if you see Nifty Infra, okay, again a classic case, up move, consolidation, coming back to the 40-hour, and now trying to turn around. Something similar happening in metal also, up move, consolidation, coming back to the 40-hour, and now trying to turn around. So that way, if you see, there are a lot of indices which are actually above the 40-hour exponential average, and they are trying to turn around, and that kind of gives me that confidence that we should be able to see a turnaround. So while Nifty is behaving a little weird, but there are indices that are, following the textbook setup, which means going up, consolidating, and the consolidation is happening above the 40R and then trying to move higher. That also ends up giving us a good trade setup as well. But frankly, I must admit that stocks are not seeing that kind of follow through. Indices seems to be trending, so that's where a lot of stock picking ability is now coming into play. So see, somewhere when this sort of also things happen, then sometimes it is better to switch to the index also, because index would be a broader you can say representation of what is happening in the stocks, right? So somewhere if you want to de-risk yourself a bit, maybe trading in the indices itself can be very beneficial. So even in bank nifty, if you see, something of this sort is only happening: up move, consolidation happening, and now trying to turn around. So over here, the bullish crossover has already happened, but it is now trying to break above the averages. So I think once it breaks and sustains above the averages, again you should be able to see a pickup in momentum. So over here, this will be the trend line on the hourly chart that I'll watch out for. I think about a break above this trend line should give us a good trending move. So that is again for the bank nifty index. And as I mentioned, I mean, a lot of indices are seeing that. So you might want to consider which are the stocks within this indices that are doing well. Now uh, now there is one more thing that is happening, is that, I mean, I view it positively. So if you see the FIIs, they have been again starting to short, since past few days. And I think that, see, I have mentioned this time and again that this is like a pendulum. Okay, it will usually move from one extreme to the other extreme. Okay, until the time we don't reach that other extreme, we have to be sort of little patient. So, see, earlier what was happening was that from this first line itself, the market used to turn around and we used to get this rally, right, which were very significant. Now, since past, I think post 2025, is this a range change? I don't know. But, over here, the shorts that the FIs have gone is to the extent of around minus 2 lakh contracts. Okay, but as I said, I would expect that at some point of time this turnaround happens and it goes back to the other end of the extreme. I think when it goes back to the other end of the extreme, that's where you can say that we are reaching some sort of euphoric level, or medium term top is possible. But as of now, I think that this is the play that should happen over the next few weeks or probably few months. And this is where I'm pinning my hopes, to be very honest. Okay, so all that I'm trying to see is that, are there any indices that are giving a breakdown? If the answer is no, then I'm looking at the sentiment indicators, which are anyways indicating bullish momentum over the next few weeks and months. So that is where I hope. And there is honestly a bit of an Elliott wave factor also over here that we look at, is that the Nifty index should probably rise higher, okay, without actually breaking this averages, okay, which is the 20 day average, and 40 day exponential average. So just like how you saw over here, right, when the up move happened, these acted as a support, and then once this broke, then we ended up getting into a medium term, I mean short term, medium term consolidation. So I would expect something like this to happen, where the prices probably inch higher, come back inch higher, and in all these cases, basically the 40 day exponential average will keep acting as a support, and this will not break until that the new up move from this leg is complete. And historically we have seen that when the FI's extreme positioning are there, so somewhere around 15 to 20% up move is what we see. If we put it that from here, so that level comes to around 28-29,000. So I think that before Nifty index reaching to 28-29,000, this averages should not be broken. Now, I know this would sound very aggressive, uh, but I think so far there are no changes in the patterns that we are seeing in all of the indicators that I'm tracking, and that is where I'm pinning my hopes. One thing that I must admit that has surely not happened is that the stocks have not picked up to the extent that we would like, and there is some sort of rotation that is happening. So that is the challenge over here. But if you ask me, I mean, hands on heart, what do you feel? So this is what this is what I am thinking at this point of time. And there is one more interesting thing that I observed in the data. So while I was looking on the weekend all the data points, if you see the Nifty option PCR, okay, OIPCR, so that had gone to around 60 point. So you can see over here that had gone to around 0.64, the raw data, okay. I'm talking about this data, okay, towards 0.64, and that is like an oversold zone, okay. So of course it can go below 0.60 as well, but usually when we come towards between 0.6 to 0.7, that's where you can say that a good I mean, there is a lot of bearishness in the market, and probably there should be some turnaround. Okay, that is what historically it has suggested. Now you can see over here. Over here also it had come, but then the pace of the decline had gone down. So this was of course happening when we were getting into a correction mode. But you can see that whenever there is an uptrend, right? So when we are in a broader uptrend and we end up getting those oversold readings, it typically leads to a bottom. Okay, you can see over here as well, up move, a strong up move happening. There was some correction that lead to OIPCR going to 0.65 and then again turning around. So I still feel that this is not a correction that will translate into a very big correction as such. So that's where I'm pinning my hopes that once we end up, I mean, since we have ended up getting this oversold reading, we should start. I mean, we should get a turnaround somewhere from here. And also, ideally, I would have liked if the sentiment indicators, which is the daily swing, which is a very fast indicator, that should have gone to 20, and from there it should have turned around. But I mean, in the Friday's reading was somewhere around 27, and now it is trying to inch higher. Okay, so this is the so there are a lot of market internals that are telling us that meaningful pessimism is there. In fact, to all those people who don't track this call minus put OI, I mean call minus put histogram. So over here also, what you see is that whenever this reading goes to around this is 5 lakh, okay, this is 5 lakhs. So somewhere when it goes to around those levels, we do tend to get a bottom sooner or later. Now again, please remember that this indicator, especially call minus put, is very very fast. Okay, so it works probably only for a day or two in terms of timing a bottom. So when so I have explained this pattern, right, of extreme short term setup, where you look at swing, daily swing, and histogram, right? So when all of this get into the oversold zone, that is where you're a lot more confident of wait 1 minute, I'm just trying to check why the daily swing is not getting updated. Let me remove it. Daily swing indicator. Okay, I need to check why daily. Okay, have we again seen a breakdown? No. So yeah, when we have this setup, so you can see over here when the prices have gone to this extreme and there is oversold reading in both. I mean, those are the classic case where a turnaround has to happen, but in the short term. Okay, so that's why I've named it as extreme short term tops and bottoms. okay, extreme short term setups. So right now there is one indicator that has come very close to the oversold zone, and again this was again coming to an oversold zone. Here we don't have this confirmation of swing, so that's why it might not end up being a very strong bottom as such. But typically where a very meaningful bottom has to occur, then you will have all the three confirming, else you will have only two of them confirming. Okay, so that's where even this call minus put, when I was updating the data, it caught my eye because it had come to almost around 5 lakh contract. Uh, so so yeah, I mean, and this is by the way in crores. Okay, so 5 lakh crore is something that is the overall market that we look at. So that is the reading. So that's where, as I mentioned, I'm pinning my hopes that eventually a turnaround happens from here. Now, whether the only thing that I am trying to figure out is that whether it turns around from year, or it turns around right away. My feeling is that it turns around right away because there are many sectors that are holding the 40-hour exponential average, as I mentioned just a while back. If the early 40-hour, is broken on the downside, which is say for mid cap, small cap, and all those guys, if the 40-hour breaks on the downside and it sustains below that, then yes, there is a risk that maybe we get into a slightly deeper correction where even the averages get tested. But yeah, that is the only thing that I'm expecting. It is not that I'm expecting that we end up correcting going back to 24,400 and those sort of levels. I mean, those are not the views at this point of time. But if the hourly averages break, I mean, if the daily averages breaks on the downside, and if Nifty sustains below that, then I'll be very worried, and maybe those possibilities might open up. So yes, as I mentioned, just to recap, there are a lot of data points that are suggesting that there is quite some pessimism right now. The only thing that I'm watching out for is some turnaround on the hourly chart to happen and break above the hourly averages with a bullish crossover. If those things happen, then I would think that a bottom is made and now a turnaround is happening from a short term perspective. Okay. So from a medium term perspective, Nifty index rising higher towards 28, 29,000. I think that view is still intact. The only thing is that in the very short term, there is some pullback that is happening, and that is what we have to figure out where it ends. So yeah, so these are the thoughts at this point of time. If you'll have any questions regarding that or about any of the data points that you're not understanding, I'll be very happy to address it and resolve those queries. So please let me know if you'll have any questions, regarding anything that we have spoke about or anything on strike. I can try and resolve those queries. And again, as I mentioned, one more thing is that while you all type the questions and so on, since I think that a turnaround should happen, the best way, as I mentioned earlier as well, is to go to the RMI scanners. If you have a very short term outlook, then look for hourly, or you can look for daily if you have a slightly more positional view. And when you are looking for daily some turnarounds, look out for the stocks which are above the averages, because those are the ones that are already trending, and they should trend even better now. Okay, so with those thoughts, I'm leaving it over here and waiting if you all have any questions to ask. Okay, if I'll have any questions, please do let me know. I should be able to address them. Any question related to what we have spoken so far? Okay, so Mayur, the good news is that we have got the RA license. So we are just making our website compatible to that, because there are some processes that we need to set, like doing KYC and all those things. So I'm very hopeful that we should be able to start running the advisory service under the brand of India Charts soon. Uh, so all those minor tweaks are being done on the website level, and as soon as that is done, we should be able to be up and running with the advisory service. Uh, yeah. So any other questions you all have, please do let me know. I'm awaiting if there are any questions from your end. So I'll wait for a minute or so. If there are no questions, then we can probably wind off for the day, and we can catch up tomorrow. Any questions, please? Yeah, GP Kalu says, does RMI and Dow trend take momentum into consideration? Many times the positive RMI crossover happens while the momentum line goes well above EMA. The actual price does not go anywhere and also dips a bit marginally. Is ADX taken into consideration? Um, GP Kalu, see, let's try and understand what momentum is, right? So, now, as per the scenario that you are describing, what would probably be happening in those stock is that if they have been falling very fast, okay, now the fall would be much more tempered. So in that case, what happens with the RMI is that, so at this point of time, when the fall was very strong, so at that point of time, RMI would be like this. And when the pace of the decline turns around, and that's where you would see RMI turning around a bit. And if at all there is some minor spike that you see in the prices, you will end up seeing RMI also rising higher. Now, because red line is nothing but the average of RMI, so you will end up, seeing something like this, right? Where the prices have gone up a bit and there is a turnaround. But again, what might end up happening is that the prices may go down a bit and RMI may behave, something like this. In which case, probably what may end up happening is that uh, you will end up getting divergence on RMI. Something like this may end up happening in RMI, and you will end up getting divergence in RMI before the stock turns around. And that is why I was mentioning to avoid such scenarios. Look out for the stocks that are trending above the averages. Just like, say, for example, mid caps, right? Look for setups like this where the turnaround is happening, because in such cases the movement will be very fast because the prior trend is established on the upside, right? When as per your question, these sort of scenarios will come only when those stocks or index would be in downtrend, and that's where you might end up seeing these things. And just to answer your question, Dow trend doesn't take that into consideration. Dow trend is purely higher high higher low pattern. That is what we are taking into consideration while giving those signals of up to down, down to up, and so on. Okay. And there is no ADX that is being considered in RMI and so on. We In RMI, it is mainly rate of change or the momentum is what we are trying to capture. Okay. Sanket, there's a question from Sanket. Hi, hello Jay. The daily RMI is in sell, but the hourly is turning and might give buy signal today. How do we interpret this? So Sanket, this is what I exactly mentioned a while back, right? So wait, let me take a cleaner chart. See, where I am again repeating this. See, RMI is nothing but it gauges the momentum. So over here, because you saw momentum very strong, right? That's why you saw very sharp uptick in RMI. but over here the momentum was sort of lost, right? So when the momentum is lost, and this red line is nothing but the 9-day average of the green line, which is the RMI, right? So if the RMI starts dipping, then even you might end up getting crossover. So when the crossover happens, but the prices are above the averages, that's where it is important to give weightage more to the averages than to RMI. Okay, because you will see this in any trending move. You see over here. Okay, the pace of the up move from the bottom will usually be very sharp, and then as the momentum fades on the upside, you will get a crossover on the downside. But that's where your 20-day period will come into play. So as long as 20-day does not break, it will keep extending without even completing the cycle. But it's when the 20-day breaks on the downside, that's where you have a case of going back to the 40 period of whatever you're looking at, and then it will consolidate. Just to give you a context, this is what seems to be happening on the monthly chart, right? So this pace of up move was very strong. After that, we got a consolidation in which we got a crossover. Okay, but again over here, 20-month average came for the support, and it came for the rescue, and again it has started to rise higher. So over here as well, it is in sell. Now it is in sell, that is understood. But when prices turn around from the 20-month, okay, then it is possible that it can remain like that for quite some time. I mean, this is what we had seen even in 2004 to 2008 market, which was very sharp, right? So you will get those pullbacks. Now this same thing is applicable on every time frame. You go on 15 minutes also, you will end up seeing this same pattern. So when the prices give a crossover, I mean RMI gives a crossover on the downside, just look if the prices are above the averages or no. If they are above the averages, then averages should be given more importance. Similar thing is true even while the Nifty index is in a downtrend. So say for example, if the Nifty index is in a downtrend and it is trying to bounce back, so of course you will end up seeing a bullish crossover over there, correct? Now if you see a bullish crossover, uh, take an example of Arly only, because that is where we are seeing this, right? Bullish crossover happens over here in RMI, but the prices are below the averages. So there is a risk that there will be just a pullback towards the averages, and then it can turn around if at all the averages don't break on the upside. So the broader idea is that when you're trying for a bullish setup, look for the setup where the prices have been trading above the 2040 hour, and then when it goes from a zero line and a crossover, that's where these are very good bullish signals. Okay, but when the prices are below the averages and there is a crossover, then there is a risk that the averages will act as a resistance if this has to translate into a bigger correction. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Okay, that when crossovers happen, look at what is the positioning of the RMI is. Okay, if the prices are above the 20 hour, I mean 20 whatever period you're looking at, then 20 period will be a very very important support level. If at all there is a closing below 20, then there is a risk of a correction towards the 40 exponential period of whatever period you're seeing. Okay, but when we are in an uptrend, okay, and even a meaningful correction has to happen, then ideally 40 period should not break at any cost. If 40 period breaks, then it is surely a matter of concern. So that is what I was trying to say, that as this up move unfolds, I am not expecting the prices to go below the 40 period. In this case, it is daily, so I'm not expecting the prices to go below 40 daily average. Okay, daily exponential average. If it goes below that, then all risks are open on the table, where even the correction till here or maybe deeper can unfold. But as long as it is above the 40, my hopes will be that because all the medium term sentiment indicators are in bearish mode and so on, so the hopes will be that Nifty index should eventually make a comeback. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Sanket. Regarding RMI monthly crossover, once happens, how long do you think we can run this? So Mahesh, it all depends on how bullish the strong the up move is. Okay, if it is very strong, then it can go on for a very very long time. Like you say, for the Nifty index, the monthly crossover was over here, right? Now it is continuing to extend. The only time where I will feel that there is a risk of RMI going back to the zero line or below is when the 20-month average breaks on the downside, right? Else it will keep continuing. It will take support at the 20-month and keep rising higher. Okay. You see this for any of the trending stocks. Bajaj Finance, you see what happened over here. Okay, wait. Let me narrow. Sorry. So you can see over here, okay, there was a bullish crossover in 2008-9, and then it continued to extend without going back to the zero line. It's only when the 20-month broke on the downside, and this was due to COVID, it ended up, coming back to the zero line. Else, it was just trending. So how long can the monthly last? It can last for very very long time, provided if it is in a trending mode. Now, if you see anything which is not in a trending mode, okay. Now, say for example, ONGC, between this period, it was not in a trending phase, right? So those crossovers might last only for 5-6 months or so. Like you can see over here, March, there was a crossover. It lasted probably till 6-7 months, and from there it gave a correction. Okay. So it all depends on whether it is trending or not trending. If it is trending, then it can go for a very very long time. If it is not trending, then 6 months to 8 months is what roughly you can expect the cycle to play out. Mahesh, for example, IOC, which gave a bullish crossover on monthly. So let me check IOC. Yeah, so I think that this should last for quite some time. Okay, because you can see over here that even over here, when there is a bullish crossover, there was in September, right? From September to October, it lasted almost over a year, and from there we saw a correction. Again, there was a bullish crossover that we saw in November. It lasted for till Feb of 2024. That was 1.5 year, right? And now we are getting a crossover over here. So maybe if this up move has to unfold into a bigger one, it can last at least 6-7 months, and then maybe after 6-7 months, depending on how the fundamentals is and how the company is doing, it can further extend. In RMI scanner, if a stock says buy on RMI and but sell triangular indicator or vice versa, which one? So sorry, GP Kalu, I did not get your question. In RMI scanner, if a stock says buy on RMI but sell triangular indicator, what is triangular indicator? On Dow, sorry, GP you might have to frame this question once again, and if you have a specific example to about this stock, then please let me know. I would actually try and explain that, because I frankly did not get your question. Vilas says, in volume and delivery scan, can the EOD data be updated on the same day by the evening, specifically for the high delivery scan? So yes, Vilas, usually in our system, the data gets updated around 8-8:30. Now see, sometimes NSE only gives data at 9 o'clock or something like that. So in such cases, we can't help it. But when we get the EOD Bhav copy from NSE, that is, I mean, the moment it comes on the exchange, within 30 minutes, you should be able to see within our system also. So roughly, I have seen that NSE gives it around 7:30 or so, all these data points, and by 8-8:15 it gets updated in our data, the volume and delivery scan and so on. So you can just observe this. I mean, so while we were bringing all this newer frameworks in which we have fastened this process further. I mean, earlier it used to take 1.5 hour to get updated, but now we have brought it down to 30 to 45 minutes. So yeah, so you should be able, and those times, I have personally tested all those things. So I know that the data gets updated within 30 to 45 minutes. So I hope that answers your question, Vilas. Uh, so yeah, I think it's 11:40. So I think let's call it for the day. It's almost 40 minutes now. So yes, once again, just to summarize, Nifty index is at an important support level right now. Need to see what it does over here. Main thing to watch out for is a bullish crossover in RMI and prices crossing above the hourly averages. I mean, that would be a good sign that a correction is ending and now an up move is starting. So let's watch out for this setup and how it plays out. So once again, thanks a lot for joining today, and let's catch up tomorrow. Thank you.